Hey guys. So at this point, I'm going to review Nigel Richards' games. If you don't know, Nigel Richards is by far the best player in the world, pretty much inarguably at this point. But in this tournament, he's making some very weird plays, and I'd like to go over them. So the first weird play is Bear. And Bear's certainly a decent equity play, it's just a bit awkward. Most people play beat in this spot, I think, or maybe ba. But Bear's okay, it keeps a D hook that he has. I don't really see anything too terrible about it. I just don't see any reason to sacrifice 2 points and keep a D, which isn't a particularly good tile on this board. Guess it has some merit maybe for like card words or something like that, but I just don't really see why you would play that over Ba or Beat or anything like that. It's certainly a very weird play. So the second weird play that I see is exchanging 4. Nigel's up 65 at this point, and he has the Q, and there's no good Q spots, and there's not going to be any good Q spots, unless Tom bingos. Now, exchanging definitely is typical here, but exchanging 4 is definitely not. You may want to keep the E here. There's only 2 E's left, and there's not that many vowels left. There's 5 vowels, and I guess 13 consonants. But I'm not sure why you'd want to keep the I, and I'm not sure why you'd want to keep the N either. You don't have the Q anymore. You may draw the J, and there's certainly high point tiles out there, but you really, really want to try to get a blank, and there's no really good reason to think that Tom has one in this case. He did play few last turn, so that indicates a pretty strong rack, but on the other hand, it also doesn't, because there's 3 S's out, so Tom certainly has one, which means he didn't have a bingo that started with S last turn, which means his rack can only be so good. And it certainly can't have 2 blanks in it, and it might not even have 1. So just a very weird line here. Much more standard would be to exchange 6 or even exchange 7 here and just try to get the blanks and try to get the X and try to just outrun whatever Tom could have or could have drawn. So again, another very weird play by Nigel here. Another play that Nigel makes that's pretty weird is OG. So in this position, you definitely want to block column J. That's definitely a thing, but blocking with OG is very weird. Keeps it EOQ leave, which is pretty gross on this board. And it actually opens up just as much as it closes. It opens the G and the E in rows 4 and 5. It opens the Y hook, which is going to be a nuisance to block, and it's going to score well. And you're not that far ahead. And you're probably going to have to exchange on a future turn. I mean, even if you draw the U, there's no really good places for QU to even play. So I'm not really sure what he's doing here and why he'd play through this rack. You can just keep an E and then just block that spot next turn. And block it a lot better so that it's much more difficult to access the top left quadrant. So yeah, I think this is a very weird play too that I'm just not really sure what he's doing here. Another weird play that Nigel makes is Phi. So we're still ahead, we still want to kill the board, and there's a ready-made option. QI at E13, it's 11 points, gets rid of the Q, and it just completely shuts down the bottom left. But Nigel doesn't want to do that. And there's other blocking options too, by the way. There's Veg, there's Vo. It just seems so automatic to do something like that. There's no real need to score points here. The only way you're going to lose this game is a bingo. And opening the top left, I mean, that's really the danger in this game, and just, he doesn't seem to prioritize that, which I just find very weird. The next thing he does that's kind of weird is Poem. I don't really see the point here. One thing you may want to do is take out column O, not because it's particularly bad, but because it's just a really easy scoring spot. So something like on would be a lot more standard. Maybe even PO and try to hit something on row 14, something like Spleeny Eye or Splined or things like that. Another thing you might do is set up another bingo line, so something like Pill, setting up Spill. But Poem is just a bit weird. Not sure what it's trying to accomplish or what the good parts of the play are, other than that they score well and keep a good lead. I'm not really sure what's going on here, what he's trying to hit. It's a very interesting play by Nigel here. And also next play, Line. This is something Nigel does a lot more often, though. He just opens a bingo line in hopes that, I guess, his opponent plays a phony or something like that, because there's no way that he can win this game. I don't think that I see anything else that's better in terms of winning the game, but it's just never going to work. Something like Avedon just giving up saying, okay, I'm not going to win this game, let me cut spread, is a lot more standard. If you do want to open a bingo line, you certainly can here as well. Something like Idol or something like that. But I get that it's not going to win the game, but Sometimes you just gotta give up. It's not gonna work here. Another way to play is web. Now, I get it, you're keeping AEHRT. You're keeping by far the best bingo leaf possible here. But is that really what you want to do? I mean, you can score so many more points, still keep a perfectly good bingo line. You can play something like Haw, that makes a lot of sense, and you keep a T-hook. You can play Ba, B-A-H. You score 18 more points doing that. You still keep an okay bingo leave. Just a very weird play to play web and just sacrifice so many more points. And basically just taking a chance that you're going to draw a bingo. You don't really want to take chances when you're a better player than your opponent. Most of the time you want to make some sort of play that's a lot more sure, actually. You want to take points more often. So it's just a very weird line to play web in this spot. Another weird play that Nigel made was Neath. Now, I get why you play Neath over Death. The D is probably just as good as the N is because of the row 1. You don't want to duplicate the D up there. And you also want to keep the D for Ode, so you can make plays like Lady along column O. But at the end of the day, you need to bingo. You're losing at this point. Your opponent's last play was G, so they have a pretty strong range. You really can't just win by playing Lady and then hoping to catch up by scoring. It's just probably not going to happen. So I definitely prefer Ahi here. I think that you need the entropy. I think it's just a better play, and it's really the best shot that you have of trying to win this game. You also need to keep the N open just so that they can block it. I know that you can't really use that N, but your opponent's not going to just leave the N hanging like that. So it's a really good diversion for you to get your bingo on future turns. So for those reasons, I really don't see why you would play Neath over Ahi. I think Ahi's a much stronger play, and it'll just bingo and catch up far more often. The last play that I want to talk about is Lated. So I get Nigel wanting to open up another lane, and I think that he's doing a good job in doing that. That's certainly what you need to do here. You don't really want to keep just the T and the N open. You want something better to hope to actually catch this. And you need to score, so you need a high-scoring lane as well. And there's just not a lot that's going to hit the T, so creating another lane with Lated is fine. But really, I think there's just better options here. And the main better option is Sadi. It sets up the T, because TSADI is also a word, and it just hits a lot more. I definitely expect a block to come no matter what. It's definitely going to block Lated, so what you need to do is you need to keep tiles that's also going to hit some other line, probably the N in row 1. So Lated just doesn't hit that much. I mean, you can hit Sorbitan, and you can hit Lastborn, but that's pretty much it after Lated, and it's just not a lot. Whereas Sadi hits a lot more. Yes, if he has the T, he might have some big play over there, and you might lose by more, but it's really hard to actually score a lot with the T there, and you have all sorts of bingos over there, and you have Butalon, you have Oblation. You have bingos in row 1, and you just have a much better chance of actually bingoing and catching up. And even if you don't hit it, as long as you leave the T in the bag, you actually have some wins the other way. Not just normally, but it's also very possible that your opponent's going to screw up. I mean, if you don't have the T here, it's really hard to know what to do. And, you can hit a 50-point play over there. You can hit some bingos over there. It's just going to be really tough. And I think that Sadi is just a much more solid line here. Before we conclude, I do want to note, I'm sure Nigel has a very good reason for most of these plays. And I think I understand at least portions of a lot of the plays that he's making. That being said, I still wouldn't make them, and I still think they're definitely weird and non-conventional. This isn't to criticize Nigel necessarily. This is more to just look at the way that he plays differently and see if these are things that you can either learn from or things that you can exploit. And I think that's the best way to approach this. If you see something that you wouldn't do, you should either incorporate it in your own game or else figure out what to do to take advantage, rather than just automatically criticizing it. Actually figure out and analyze what's happening when somebody does something that you don't understand.